Which secret are you absolutely taking a grave? I grew up in one of those super religious families where lying was basically the worst thing you could do. My adopted parents were amazing people, don't get me wrong, but they had these really strong beliefs about family and death, and anything involving what they call death culture, assisted suicide, euthanasia. Even talking about wanting to die peacefully was seen as against God's plan. When I turned 26, I did something I've been thinking about for years. I tracked down my biological mom, Lori. It took months of searching through adoption records and old hospital files, but I finally found her contact info. I was nervous as hell when I called her, but she seemed genuinely happy to hear from me. We agreed to meet at this little diner downtown on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I spotted her immediately when I walked in. She had my eyes and the same crooked smile I saw in mirrors, but she looked so frail and thin, like a strong wind could knock her over. We talked for 3 hours straight. She told me about the teenage pregnancy, about how giving me up was the hardest thing she'd ever done, about how she thought about me every single day since. Then she dropped the bomb. She had late-stage pancreatic cancer. That lot to father, who died in a car accident when I was 2. During our 4th visit, she looked different, more tired, more scared. She grabbed my hand and said something that still gives me chills. What I'm most afraid of isn't dying. It's dying alone in pain like my mother did. I promised her that wouldn't happen. I didn't really know what I was promising at the time. 3 weeks later, she called me at work. Her voice was barely a whisper. Can you come tonight? I think tonight might be it. I told my boss I had a family emergency and drove straight to the hospital. When I got to her room, she was propped up in bed, looking tiny under all those white sheets. There were 4 tubes everywhere and machines beeping softly. She smiled when she saw me and patted the bed for me to sit down. I saved up my morphine, she whispered, pointing to a small cup on a nightstand. The nurses think I've been taking it, but I want to be awake for this conversation. That's when I understood what she was doing. A priest, anyone. But looking at her face, seeing how peaceful she seemed about the decision, I just couldn't do it. She took the morphine around 9 p.m. I held her hand, and we talked quietly about silly things. Her favorite movies, the way I used to kick in her belly when she was pregnant, how proud she was of the woman I'd become. Her words started slowing around 9:30, and by 10 p.m. she was asleep. I sat there for 2 more hours, crying quietly, and watching her breathe slower and slower until she just stopped. She looked so peaceful, like she was finally free from all that pain. At midnight, I finally called the nurses. They marked it as natural causes from cancer. I played the shocked, grieving daughter perfectly. The funeral was small. I was listed as her only family member. My parents thought I was at a work conference that week. They never questioned why I